Our film begins with Amy, whose house is surrounded by the police before they arrest her on murder charges, leaving her completely devastated. She goes through a trial, but the court declares her innocent. Afterward, Amy starts a new life, looking for a new home. She meets a real estate agent named Joe, who shows her a house and tells her it would be perfect for her, assuring her that the neighbors are all very kind. Joe also mentions that the house across the street is up for sale, too. Amy likes the one she saw and decides to buy it, moving all her belongings there. On her first night, she has a nightmare in which a man tries to open her bedroom door. She wakes up terrified, realizes it was just a dream, drinks some water, and goes back to sleep. The next morning, Amy wakes up excited to organize and decorate her new home. That day, her neighbor Betsy visits her, the oldest resident in the neighborhood. Betsy is a kind lady who gives Amy a lamp as a welcome gift, something she does for every new neighbor. Betsy tells her that everyone in the area is nice and supportive, and that soon, all the neighbors will come over with food and gifts to welcome her. She asks Amy about her marital status, and Amy replies that she's not in a relationship. They sit together in the garden, and Betsy introduces her to the nearby residents, asking curiously why someone as young and beautiful as Amy isn't married. Amy explains that she used to be in a relationship, but it was a troubled one, so they broke up, and she moved here to start fresh. Betsy apologizes for being intrusive, but Amy reassures her, saying they're friends now. Later, Amy meets Richard, the high school principal who introduced her to Joe the agent and helped her get a teaching job at the school. He tells her it's a great school with excellent students and strict discipline for both teachers and students. He wishes her good luck, she thanks him and goes to class. After school, Amy returns home to continue unpacking when Jared and Nicole, a friendly couple next door, visit and bring her a famous apple pie. They insist she attends Betsy's weekend barbecue party, and Amy agrees, thanking them for the pie. That night, Amy has another disturbing nightmare, remembering a man beating her, her body covered in bruises. She cries quietly before falling back asleep. The next day at school, Richard observes her teaching and notices that she's dedicated and loved by her students. Soon comes the day of Betsy's barbecue. Amy attends, meets all her neighbors, and they learn that she lives alone and teaches at the high school. They tell her about Margaret, a nosy woman who used to live in the house across from Amy, someone who meddled too much in others' affairs until everyone started avoiding her, and she eventually moved away. The neighbors all celebrate Amy's arrival warmly. One day, while Amy is jogging through the neighborhood, a speeding red car suddenly tries to run her over. She barely escapes by jumping onto the sidewalk as the car speeds away. Shaken, Amy rushes home and tells Betsy what happened. Betsy calms her down, saying the driver was probably drunk or distracted, and insists that no one in this neighborhood would ever hurt anyone on purpose. Amy believes her, not wanting to feel afraid. Then Betsy asks if Amy has met anyone yet. Amy says no, explaining that she's not thinking about relationships at the moment. Betsy replies, "Your ex must have been abusive." Amy stays silent. Betsy apologizes, but Amy begins to talk, saying she once loved her husband, but he changed after marriage. Betsy advises her to learn from her mistakes and assures her that she'll meet a good man who truly deserves her. While they're talking, a mysterious figure watches them from a parked car nearby. The next day, Amy returns from work to find that someone has bought the house across the street. Betsy rushes over, saying, "See? I told you. A handsome, single man just moved in right in front of you." Amy laughs and goes inside, but she can't help glancing through the window, spotting her new neighbor talking to Joe. She murmurs to herself, "Wow, he's really handsome." When he notices her watching, she quickly closes the curtains, embarrassed. He gets into his car and drives away. As usual, Amy goes jogging the next morning, and her new neighbor watches her. Suddenly, a truck nearly hits her, but the man rushes in and saves her. They finally meet. His name is Henry. Amy thanks him and goes home, clearly moved by him. Meanwhile, Betsy enters Amy's house through the broken back door, saying she wanted to surprise her. She tells Amy she saw what happened, which surprises Amy. Betsy explains she often stays up late watching the street for safety, and suggests they come up with a plan to bring Amy and Henry closer. Jared and Nicole also show up, suggesting they bake another apple pie for Amy to take to Henry, but Betsy quickly ushers them inside so Henry won't see. Later, Amy visits Henry and gives him the pie. He invites her in to share it with him. During their chat, Henry compliments the pie, saying it's delicious and that she must be a great cook. Amy laughs and says Jared and Nicole actually baked it, she just brought it over. Amy senses that Henry likes her too, and she leaves his house smiling and cheerful. At the same time, Betsy visits Henry and gives him a lamp, her usual gift for new neighbors. That evening, all the neighbors gather at Betsy's house for a small get-together. Henry attends too. He and Amy exchange flirtatious glances throughout the evening. At the end of the night, they walk home together. On the way, Henry jokes that everyone's watching them, waiting to see what happens between them. He then invites her to dinner that weekend, saying he'll cook for her himself. Amy laughs, asking, "You can cook?" Henry replies, "I was raised in a family that loves cooking, especially Italian food." He insists she come, and they both return to their homes, noticing the neighbors peeking from their windows. That night, Amy falls asleep and has another nightmare, running from someone, hiding in a room, crying, until he catches her. She wakes up terrified, checks the house, and finds the back door open. Scared, she calls Henry, who comes right away. He tells her the door is broken and needs fixing, and offers to take care of it since he works in construction. Amy thanks him for coming so quickly. He reminds her of their dinner plans and leaves. As he enters his home, he hides his key under the doormat, as he usually does. The next day, Amy goes to school and notices the red car, the same one that tried to hit her, parked outside. She feels uneasy. That night, a masked intruder breaks into her home and searches for something unknown. When he hears Amy returning, he hides. Amy enters and finds a torn newspaper clipping on the kitchen table. It shows her picture with a headline reading, "Wife defends herself, shoots husband, and walks free." Horrified, Amy burns the paper and goes upstairs, unaware that the masked intruder quietly slips out of the house. The next day Amy goes to Henry's house for dinner, while Betsy watches them from her window. Amy enters Henry's home and they have dinner together. She thanks him for the kind invitation. Henry tells her that he and his brother both love Italian food, so Amy asks, "Do you have any other siblings?" He answers that he has a brother and a sister. Amy asks, "Since you work in construction, why did you move to this neighborhood? You could have built your own house." He replies, "I spent my whole life in the city. I came here because I was looking for peace." Then Amy asks whether he is in a relationship. He says, "No, why do you ask? Are you involved with anyone?" She answers, "I was married, but that marriage was the biggest mistake of my life. I finally got rid of it and came here to start over." They grow closer, and Amy stays the night at his place. In the morning she leaves his house. Betsy sees them and is delighted that Amy has finally found a partner. As days pass, Amy and Henry's relationship deepens and the neighbors are happy for them. But one day Henry tells her he must travel on a work assignment for several days. Amy says, "This is the first time you'll be away from me since we met. I'll miss you so much, you must call me every day." He smiles and says, "I'll miss you too." Then they each go home. Henry leaves, and Amy messages him, but he does not reply. One day Amy goes to check the mailbox and finds a note that reads, "You know your crime, and I know it too." She panics and runs back inside. Betsy notices her strange behavior from her window. Amy calls Henry many times but he doesn't answer, and her anxiety grows. One night she hears a noise, goes downstairs to shut the broken back door, then goes back up, unaware the masked person has just left her house. The next day, Amy sees from her window that Henry has returned from his trip with a woman. She becomes angry and watches them. She tries to message him but gets no reply. In the morning she sees him leave the house and confronts him angrily, "Why didn't you answer my calls?" He says, "My phone was broken." She explodes, "I saw everything. I saw the girl leaving your place," and slaps him in front of everyone. Henry is stunned because the neighbors are watching and says, "That's my sister. Her flight was delayed at the airport, so I had her stay here instead of a hotel." Amy, embarrassed, asks, "But you said your phone was broken, how did you contact her?" He replies, "I called her before it broke, I planned to surprise you this morning." She tries to apologize, but he answers coldly, "It looks like our relationship needs time and distance," then leaves. Amy collapses and cries. Soon Betsy visits and asks, "What happened?" Amy, devastated, answers, "I ruined everything and humiliated him in front of everyone." Betsy tries to calm her, "You were upset, he'll realize that." But Amy insists, "It's all over." Betsy promises to try to fix things. Days go by and Amy notices the neighbors avoiding her and being friendly only with Henry. One evening she sees the same girl at Henry's house again. The next day she tells Betsy, "I'm sure she's not his sister, and the neighbors can't stand to look at me." Betsy tries to soothe her, but Amy storms to Henry's house and shouts, "I know everything. You can fool them, but you won't fool me." Henry replies, "It's over between us. Go find someone else." Everyone watches the scene, but Amy continues to scream, "We were happy, what changed?" He drags her into his house, shuts the door, and threatens her, "I know about your old crime, stay away from me or I'll tell everyone and ruin you at the school." Amy leaves crying. Betsy follows and Amy says, "Leave me alone." She remembers her past. Her husband Tony used to beat her. One day when she decided to leave him, he beat her severely and threatened her with a gun. During their struggle a shot accidentally fired and killed him, but the court acquitted her. We also learn that Tony is the man who always appears in her nightmares. Over time even Betsy starts to distance herself like the other neighbors. One night Amy watches from her window as the same girl goes into Henry's house and he forces her inside. Amy calls the police, but when they arrive they find nothing. Amy storms out at them angrily, "Why don't you arrest him?" Detective Wilson tells her, "We searched the house and found nothing." Henry says, "You've been harassing him for some time and you might need psychiatric help." Neighbors gather to watch and the detective adds, "We've heard about your recent problems, better go home and rest. If you bother him again, we'll have to arrest you." Amy returns home broken while Wilson apologizes to Henry for the intrusion. The next day at school, Richard informs Amy that the administration learned about her past and decided to fire her. Amy insists the court cleared her, but Richard says, "The school requires good conduct and you lied when you didn't disclose the full truth." She collapses and leaves the school devastated. Meanwhile, Betsy tells her husband Steve she's sorry about Amy. He replies, "You can't help her, time will heal her." Amy sits on the floor exhausted. She then sees Henry taking a large carpet to his car. Suspicious, she goes to his house, takes the key from under the doormat, and sneaks inside to search. Betsy sees her and calls the police. Amy finds his laptop and discovers he uses a site to hire prostitutes. She saves the site's name, but the police arrive before she can finish. She tells them Henry killed a girl and wrapped her in a carpet. Henry denies it, saying he just took the carpet to the cleaner. Wilson verifies Henry's explanation and Amy completely breaks down as the neighbors watch. Amy spends the night in custody. Later Wilson tells her Henry dropped the complaint and she can be released as long as she stays away from him. Amy packs her things, puts her house on the market, and goes to a hotel. There she remembers the site's name and contacts the girl she saw with Henry. Her name is Nikki. Nikki comes to the hotel and Amy pays her a large sum to tell the truth. Nikki says Henry hired her twice and behaved strangely. The first time he had her sleep in his bed while he stayed in the guest room. The second time he made her play a chase game. She would leave the house and he would run after her, then arrange a car for her to leave. She adds that these behaviors are not new for him. He is Henry Lombardi, a conman recently released from prison on charges of fraud and assault. Amy is shocked and asks, "Are you sure about his name?" Nikki says yes. Amy realizes Henry is the brother of her late husband Tony. She goes to Detective Wilson and tells him everything. At first he is skeptical, but she insists and he promises to investigate and asks her to stay away from Henry. Amy calls Joe the realtor and learns Henry didn't buy the house. He's renting it at a much higher rate. She decides to return home, thinking, "I won't run away this time, he must go." Henry notices her return and watches her, while Betsy continues to observe from her window. Amy locks all the doors tightly and goes up to her room, where she sees Henry watching her from his opposite window. Terrified, she waits for the confrontation. Meanwhile, Wilson's investigation confirms Amy's claims. That night Betsy sees a shadow entering Amy's house. Inside, Amy wakes to find her phone placed beside her. It was recently put there. She goes down terrified and discovers the back door open, and Henry is waiting for her. He confronts her, "You killed my brother Tony. I learned that while I was in prison. I collected your photos and counted the days until I got out so I could take revenge on you." Amy cries and says, "You don't know how he treated me. He never told me your name." He answers violently, "He sent me your picture and said he wanted us to live as a family. I was the one who tried to run you over with the red car, and I swore to destroy your life, your job, your neighbors, and now I'll kill you and make it look like a suicide. I even called from your phone and will say you threatened to kill yourself. Amy tells him, the police know who you are, and if you run now no one will find you. Then she runs, he chases her. She grabs a knife and threatens him to stay away. At that moment Betsy suddenly bursts in and hits him on the head with her lamp, then holds the terrified Amy. The police arrive and arrest Henry. The neighbors come forward to apologize to Amy for mistrusting her. She forgives them, crying with relief that the nightmare is finally over.